funny. What the hell is that?
Now, the really interesting part. Every year, at least 8 million children go missing in the world. I can attest that 1/3 of them are abducted by government operatives and transported to any one of the 1,477 underground military installations on the planet, then imprisoned for the remainder of their lives. The children are subjected to biological and genetic experiments, dissections, and mutilations performed not by human scientists, but an alien gray species. During my stay at the Vanguard Underground Base north of Phoenix, Arizona, I witnessed many of these procedures. Because there is no form of anesthesia administered to the young patients, the halls reverberated with the screams of tortured children from morning to night.
It occurred, the military insisted on certain types of weapons. The aliens themselves then said, no, we're not going to give you weapons, we'll give you the ships, but we're not going to give you the weapons. The military supposedly at the same time broke into a number of different underground levels, which the aliens had kept secure to themselves and somewhat secret from their military partners. And then when they broke into these levels, they found that the levels were just strewn with bodies of either misbegotten genetic experiments or human beings that they didn't want to put back and had bled dry and thrown down into these underground levels.
Costello took this photo of human alien hybrids and leaked it. They are breeding slave warriors for the upcoming war with the alien races, Costello said. Costello and his family are now missing and presumed dead.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Nurse Dre. If the universe has led you here in a crazy twist of fate, hit that subscribe button. You will not be disappointed. Let's get straight into these crazy TikToks from TikTok.
Your DNA is a right-handed double helix made up of these 4 things right here. And the helix is held together by sulfuric bonds that appear after every 10 pairs of nucleotides, every 5 pairs of nucleotides, every 6 pairs of nucleotides, and again every 5 pairs of nucleotides. 10-5-6-5, 10-5-6-5, or in the Hebrew alphabet, Yod He Vav He, the signature of your creator, the signature of an artist under his painting, if you will. Now the magic potion, if you actually read the patents, it is adding a triple helix, and it is adding more of this, which comes from a meteorite or a fallen star. And this 10-5-6-5, Yod He Vav He, the signature of your creator, quickly turns into 10-5-6-6-6-5. Do I have your attention yet?
Yes. Oh my gosh, y'all, I didn't know that. I knew that the jab. I knew that it would like change your DNA. It's splicing it, right? So it's cutting up your DNA and adding in the middle of that DNA a different sequence of RNA that is changing your DNA, like literally changing the makeup of who you are. I didn't know it was the signature of the one whose name we shall not say. Like, I didn't know that. Because she's right, it is the signature of God, but we're putting the signature of the devil into it when we get the, So, oh my gosh, it just brings everything so full circle if you know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know, right? But like, please don't do it, please. Please don't do it. We're not going back there. Let's continue.
Have you ever...
To look at a human being as a bag of food. They're not cannibals. They don't eat the flesh and the bones and all that kind of stuff. They use the glandular secretions of animals and human beings as a mixture of the vitamins for their food. They get high off of our adrenal gland substances called adrenal chrome. It's something like cocaine to them. Now, what can we do about it? We right now, if we do nothing, we can do nothing about it, and it'll continue to go on. Basically, we'll be led in the dark, and you'll keep seeing more and more people disappear. Right now, there's 100,000 children totally unaccountable through FBI archives, cannot be traced anywhere. They haven't been murdered. Nobody's ever seen them. I think they're hauled underneath in some of these bases, and they are summarily done away with, and they are literally eaten. Now, that is a scary thing indeed. And I'm not asking you to believe me in toto. I am asking you to seriously do enough homework that you can go out in through the public record, through the congressional records, find out who's voting for what, and go from there. Do your own program, do your own agenda, and do your own speaking out. And if enough of us do this, there is some saving grace. To look at a human.
Did y'all see his fingers? Look. He's missing fingers. I'm going to tell you why. Watch.
Agenda, and do your own speaking out. And if enough of us do this.
See? Right there? He was in a battle with aliens. Literally. Like, their laser weapons are what cut off his fingers. In the Dulce base. Is it Dulce, Arizona? I don't know. In the Dulce base. Anyways. Dulce is an underground alien base. Well, when they ran into him unexpectedly, they got into a fight, and many beings lost their lives that day, and he lost a couple fingers.
There is some saving grace. To look at a human being as a bag of food. They're not cannibals. They don't eat the flesh and the bones and all that kind of stuff. They use the glandular secretions of animals and human beings as a mixture of the vitamins for their food. They get high off of our adrenal gland substances called adrenal chrome. It's something like cocaine to them. Now, what can we do about it? Right now, if we do nothing, we can do nothing about it, and it'll continue to go on. Basically, we'll be led in the dark, and you'll keep seeing more and more people disappear. Right now, there's 100,000 children totally unaccountable.
The White House will implicate certain very powerful members of Congress in their own criminal activity. And so when the White House gets in trouble for it, the Congress has to run cover for the White House. And so what happened was Congress passed an emergency law in 2007 called the Protect America Act. And what it did was it retroactively immunized all of the phone companies in the United States that had been breaking the law millions of times a day by handing your records over to the government, which they weren't allowed to do.
Politics, you think you understand political parties. Drop all that crap. You don't know what the Illuminati is. If you're Republican or you're Democrat, you're wrong. Why? It's this easy. It's called divide and conquer. That's why there's two parties and only two. And they're controlled by the same people at the very top who belong to the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderberger Group, they also belong to the Trilateral Commission, and you people don't even know what the hell that is. But if you did know, you would know that these are the people that control your world by making global policies that you never vote on, and by which parties both serve and belong to these organizations and control your world. Now, here's how it works. Really easy. Divide and conquer can only work if the people that are divided are not aware of the falsely created division. If you're not aware of it, then it works. If you know about it, then it don't work no more. If you have socialism without capitalism, it becomes communism.
I love that guy. I'm so glad I found that video. There's a bunch of videos about him talking like that, and dude, he drops some gems. He looks funny though. What the hell is that? Yeah, that is not fake. That's not fake. Where do y'all find this shit?
They acted very much like today's taser, but the voltage from the wand would cause immediate cardiac arrest, and the victim's death would be attributed to natural causes. We silenced countless victims, not only men, but women of all ages and even teenagers. The following day, after each kill, our memories were reset, so we would have no recollection of the murders. A good majority of the victims were ufologists and whistleblowers. Among the ufologists I personally silenced were Paul William Cooper, Milton Vigay, Claude Monroe, Anthony Vargas, and noted documentarian Samantha Willis. When my wand malfunctioned with Samantha,
This guy is literally admitting to silencing, unaliving ufologists.
I resorted to strangulation. She fought for her life for almost 2 minutes. In recalling this act, I stared into her pleading eyes for the entire duration with absolutely no remorse, guilt, or feelings. That was how effective the mind conditioning was. And it's her face that haunts my dreams more than anyone's to this day.
So they stuffed out a documentarian.
Yep.
Well, that's not good to hear.
Yeah. All right, we're going to move on. In 1954, Dwight Eisenhower signed what's known as the Granada Treaty with the alien gray race. In exchange for shared alien technologies, the Greys were allowed to abduct a number of humans annually for medical examination. The Greys also demanded anonymity from the public. A short time later, human technology took a giant leap forward with circuit chips, fiber optics, and lasers. The Granada Treaty is still active today, but the number of human abductions has increased despite objections from the world governments. Now, the really interesting part. Every year, at least 8 million children go missing in the world. I can attest that 1/3 of them are abducted by government operatives and transported to any one of the 1,477 underground military installations on the planet, then imprisoned for the remainder of their lives. The children are subjected to biological and genetic experiments, dissections, and mutilations performed not by human scientists, but an alien gray species. During my stay at the Vanguard Underground Base north of Phoenix, Arizona, I witnessed many of these procedures. Because there's no form of anesthesia administered to the young patients, the halls reverberated with the screams of tortured children from morning to night. The ones that perished were incinerated in the installation's crematorium.
When this began to come to public light was due to the efforts of a man by the name of Paul Benowitz. Benowitz, who worked for a company called the Thunder Corporation, began in his investigations to be harassed by government agents, but also he began to get very unusual readouts on his computer. And Benowitz actually claims that he was in contact with some form of alien intelligence that was coming to him from a computer that claimed to be based inside the Dulce Archuleta Mesa. Well, Benowitz had flown over the mesa and actually came up with a map of the various entrances for where the saucers could come and go from out of the mesa. Now, subsequent investigators have found 2 engineers who claim to have actually built the place in 1953. We interviewed 14 eyewitnesses who claimed that they, when under hypnosis, these were women. A number of the women had little children as well who were also abducted along with them. But in this investigation, these 14 eyewitnesses who claimed to have been abducted claimed to have actually been inside the mesa. There's also a sort of legendary figure, a fellow who is called Thomas C. This fellow Thomas C. supposedly worked as a security guard inside the base and escaped in the late 1970s with a videotape that was 6 minutes of a security camera that basically ran back and forth over a large hall in which there were these ambionic sacks where there appeared to be actual aliens in the sacks and unusual devices on the walls. So the explanation behind this was that in 1953, supposedly some sort of deal was struck between the United States government and this particular group of aliens. We don't know which bunch. Supposedly they're from Zeta Reticuli. And that in 53 we allowed them to have certain underground bases in which they could do certain types of genetic experimentation and energy experimentation in league with the U.S. military, and that in 1953 the Dulce Mesa was put together. That in 1979, a disagreement took place between the United States government and said aliens. The Dulce base reportedly was set up to be between 7 and 12 levels. That eyewitnesses have said or stated to us that the base was approximately about 450 feet down because they were taken inside elevators when the ships would land, when they would take the people that were being abducted in the back way. Usually the ships would come down the vents and come into a large hangar area, but a number of the abductees described being taken in a back way and down an elevator and then down some stairs. That this thing was supposedly 450 feet below ground, and that it seemed to extend out with a power source at the center. When this disagreement occurred between the U.S. military and the aliens because the aliens had basically gotten farming rights to this planet in exchange for nothing more than a few Model Ts, in essence a couple of saucers that they gave us to take apart and figure out how they work and what have you. They apparently gave us the code to breaking the human genome, or the human RNA DNA structure, which then allowed us to be able to do all kinds of genetic engineering and crossbreeding human beings with animals and different types of animals, which was supposedly what was going on in concert with the Los Alamos Atomic Energy and Genetics Research Lab in Los Alamos, New Mexico.
Why?
That when the disagreement occurred, the military insisted on certain types of weapons. The aliens themselves then said, no, we're not going to give you weapons, we'll give you the ships, but we're not going to give you the weapons. The military supposedly at the same time broke into a number of different underground levels, which the aliens had kept secure to themselves and somewhat secret from their military partners. And then when they broke into these levels, they found that the levels were just strewn with bodies of either misbegotten genetic experiments or human beings that they didn't want to put back and had bled dry and thrown down into these underground levels. The U.S. military then said to the aliens, get out of our bases, get off our planet. The aliens supposedly then said, oh yeah, make us. We then sent in a Delta Force team to try to get them out. 66 Delta Force members died. The scientists supposedly were then there. Now let me tell you, as far as what we did as far as Dulce goes. Now, we wanted to come up with abject physical proof that an alien base actually existed. Well, how exactly do you do that? We figured out a way to actually ultrasound the Dulce Mesa. We took things up to the mesa to see if we could find specifically a power source. So myself, Jim Delatoso, Joe Randazzo, all went to the Dulce Archuleta Mesa. Now what we were looking for was electrical outputs, and we wanted to see how our sound or our sonic would interact with any sort of electrical outputs that were coming from inside the mesa. But the actual blocks that you're about to see are the various areas where we placed transceivers that were hooked up into 9-volt batteries that we buried into the ground that were pulsing this sonic tone. Also, Dr. Delatoso found a way to run the sound through a synthesizer by running a number of tones up and down and then recording them on DAT tape. Right here he's showing the exact area of frequency as to how far out the ultrasounds went. Right here you can see the area of dispersion of what we were zeroing in on. So this area right in through here is the area that you can see that was ultrasounded through the test. Now remember, one of the things that we were searching for is we were searching for a source of electric or electromagnetic energy and a penumbra to that electromagnetic energy as well. A lot of the contactees and abductees had said, well, the abductees specifically had stated that they had witnessed a central power source inside the mesa itself. The vertical lines that you see on the side are the rock faces, but you see that big red glow right in the center? That, folks, is an atomic reactor right in the middle. This atomic reactor is approximately, once again, 450 feet down. The structure itself is about 250 feet high. The green penumbra that you're seeing that runs from either side, which could have shown literally a tunnel or some sort of causeway or railroad system that runs lower to the left. The green flat areas that you are seeing would be indicative of levels or electricity that was being wired throughout a number of levels. So we discovered, in essence, an atomic pile underneath the Dulce Archuleta Mesa that was military standard, that seemed to have levels, that seemed to have a causeway or a railroad system running through the base, exactly like everybody said.
Oh, hold on. What the hell is that? Down below, I need you guys to tell me, for real, Do you think that there are underground bases? And if there are underground bases, are there underground railroads that they send, trains that go hundreds of miles an hour through across the country of the United States? Do you think that's possible? And do you think it's underneath your state or your country? Let me know down below. What the hell is this? That's not human. What? It's obviously a baby though, right? That's not human.
Paul Benowitz was led to believe that there was a secret underground base located near Dulce, New Mexico. He began flying there in his plane to check out the area.
Eventually what happened was they began to mess with him, and some extraterrestrials, a group of grey extraterrestrials that were working with the military in the Dulce base. Benowitz's radio equipment had been able to intercept the communications between the extraterrestrials and the human operators in the base, in the underground base. So Dulce becomes a point of focus for Benowitz, and he trains his equipment there, and he has some high-speed photographic equipment there as well, and he's actually able to photograph some of the ships, some of the UFOs going into the mesa, where you actually have a kind of vibrational shift in some of the craft.
And the more he dug into it, he found himself exposed to even more nightmarish stories, many of them coming from Dulce. For example, a lot of these insiders, whistleblowers if you like, claimed to him that all sorts of unspeakable experiments were being undertaken in the Dulce base. People were being used as guinea pigs if you like, in bizarre genetic experiments, splicing alien and human DNA together and creating strange half-human, half-alien creatures. And reportedly there were hundreds and hundreds of people kept in the Dulce base in cages, the people who go missing every year, that kind of thing.
So Benowitz did strongly believe that there was an underground base at Dulce, New Mexico. I don't think he was necessarily far off, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't necessarily discredit what Benowitz thinks. I think it's entirely possible that there was and may even still be some underground activity near Dulce. First of all, just generally speaking, it is documented and known that no later than the 1960s did the United States Navy have detailed plans to build deep underground facilities, deep underground military bases, DUMBs, in various parts of the United States and globally. And that not just under the ground, but under the ocean floor. We have illustrations, drawings of this at the time by illustrators who were hired by the Navy to do this. Now, whether they did it or not is another question, but certainly they were thinking about this. And by the way, the expense, the money, the technology, all of that was totally doable in the context of 1960s. So it could be done. All you need to do for an underground ocean base is extract oxygen out of the water. And we know how to do that. We've done that since the 50s. Have a source of energy down there and you can play ping pong and under nice fluorescent lighting for days and weeks and months. No problem. Underground bases are not difficult. Underground bases under the mountains, ditto.
In northern New Mexico, animals are being found drained of blood with organs removed. Black helicopters were seen flying around the area, strange lights, UFOs, and it all revolved around this huge mesa which overlooks Dulce, called the Archuleta Mesa. One of the intriguing theories is that there exists within and below this huge mesa some sort of fortified alien installation, an extraterrestrial base if you like. And certainly since the 1970s right through to the present day, a lot of research has been done into the Dulce area to try and answer that question. Are extraterrestrials living under New Mexico in the Dulce area?
Yeah, back in the 1950s in Farmington, there was an armada of UFOs seen going from Farmington eastward towards Dulce. Terrified everybody, made the newspapers, and then nothing.
The secrets of Dulce alien base and what they are hiding under the New Mexico desert. In 1979, Dulce base was site to a horrific war between humans and aliens. But there are darker things occurring there. This is security guard Thomas Costello. While working at the base, Costello took this photo of human-alien hybrids and leaked it. They are breeding slave warriors for the upcoming war with the alien races, Costello said. Costello and his family are now missing and presumed dead. He suffered the same fate as Phil Schneider, an engineer at the base who was present during the Dulles Base War of 1979 and died of mysterious circumstances.
The guy with the fingers missing? Yeah. He was later unalived, and like it was considered to be his fault, but it was obviously not. You know what I'm saying?
Are they really here?
Okay. That was really weird. MP Ultra survivor taken to underground base in Dulce, New Mexico, and experienced experiment.
Seemed to be mostly offices and human beings, people. I came in on that level, and it was all military people, mostly green uniforms, and office settings, little cubicles. They took me through there to an elevator. We went in the elevator down, I guess, to the next level, from what I understand, which is 4. They opened up the doors and pushed me out. When the doors opened up, there was a bunch of these small grates. There was just a bunch of them there. And they pushed me out the door, and the doors closed, and that was it. At that point, I was just they levitated me somehow. But as soon as I was there, I was on my back, being levitated with those grays walking with me. They took me to, I guess, one of the experimentation rooms. It was like a stone table. Put me on the table, and I couldn't move at all. You know, as soon as they levitated me, I couldn't move at that point. They cut my clothes off, and then a big gray came in and stuck some device up my nose, almost looked like a pencil on a cord. And they shoved that up my nose, and then I was taken to a cage. This was bizarre. There was just this huge cabin with cages and people in it. And they weren't stacked on top of each other, and everybody was naked in there, and they all had this stare. It was just horrible. So I was there for a little bit, and then they came back and got me again.
Oh, that's freaky. Oh no. Freaky.
The fact of the matter is that he was killed because of what he was doing. And it's very clear to researchers who looked into it. There is an effort underway right now to suppress that information. There are books that are coming out that are filled with alternative realities of what actually occurred, and all of them are part of this narrative that he was a liar, there's nothing in Dulce, everybody just please go away and forget about all of this nonsense of gray aliens.
One of the primary things that Phil Schneider talked about at Dulce was this particular issue of human beings used against their will in strange and controversial genetic experimentation. The other angle that Phil Schneider was also well known for was pointing out that we, the human race, the military, the government, had lost control of the Dulce base. Yes, we weren't there, but most of the people who were in there were very fearful of their lives, and Schneider believed that essentially the base had become not so much a no-go area for us, but a highly dangerous place where the aliens were calling the shots. What it boils down to is that the Dulce base is totally under alien control, where you had the base itself constructed possibly by, you know, the military and people like Schneider and the people he was working with. But then when the alien component comes along, things kind of change. They start to take control, the military retreats. But according to Schneider, a lot of the experiments that were going on under Dulce in this particular base were sort of horrendous. People in jails, if you like, in chains, held prisoner and used by these extraterrestrial entities how and whenever they wanted to. This involved bizarre genetic experiments, gene splicing, crossbreeding humans and aliens, and for want of a better term, everything being done for the benefit of the aliens and none of it being done for the benefit of us. There's no doubt that when it comes to the Dulce story, that had it not been for Phil Schneider, Dulce certainly would not be talked about in the way that it is today.
Man.
Tall, blonde, Procyon Nordic humanoids carried out experiments that involved both artificial insemination and interbreeding with primitive humanity. The desired result was to combine the larger brain capacity, and this would be with the tall blondes, with a lung capacity and a respiration system of primitive humanity that was better suited for the Earth's atmosphere. And the sudden emergence of Cro-Magnon Homo sapien humans was the result of this Nordic genetic intervention with evolving primates on Earth. The tall blonde Nordics from Procyon have continued to crossbreed with us humans at many stages of our evolutionary development, and this type of activity still goes on, close quote. Further, their motivation for breeding with humans is to tune up the frequency of our species in order to help us to help ourselves. Their concern is for the well-being of all forms of life, not just humans. The entire biosphere will benefit if we fulfill our positive potential instead of self-destructing and destroying our planet's biosphere in the process.
That's the video, guys. I really want to know what you guys think down below. Do you think this story of Phil Schneider, the guy with the missing fingers, is real? Did he get into a battle with aliens, with alien tech, and lose his fingers? Did they really build an underground alien base that not even the American government knew about? Are they building these bases below your feet as we speak all over the world? What do you think? Let me know down below, and if the universe has led you here in a crazy twist of fate, hit that subscribe button. You will not be disappointed. Thank you so much for stopping by tonight and hanging out with me. I will see you in the next one. Bye.